Flexible wings have been a problem in Formula 1 ever since the first aerofoils appeared in 1968. While once it was a question of making the wings safe, in recent decades it's been all about pushing the limits of the rules on bodywork flexibility for competitive advantage. Every few years, a flexi-wing controversy flares up. The latest one came to public attention when Lewis Hamilton commented on what he called the bendy rear wing of Max Verstappen's Red Bull during the Spanish Grand Prix weekend. And it has led to action from the FIA. But what exactly has Red Bull been doing? How will the changes impact it? And why is flexible bodywork so difficult to police? If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the race so you don't miss any of our F1 coverage. And to be informed the millisecond there's something new to watch, chime the notifications bell. Formula 1's regulations outlaw flexible bodywork, with cars undergoing stringent load tests designed to ensure they're legal. We'll get into more detail on how all that works shortly. Mercedes, among others, suspected that Red Bull's rear wing does not comply with these rules. Footage from the Spanish Grand Prix appears to show the rear wing rotating backwards under load on the straights, reducing its angle to the airflow and therefore lowering the drag. This would improve performance on the straights, while still delivering downforce with its wing in the normal position when speeds are lower in the corners. So it's illegal then? Well, yes and no. The trouble is that all bodywork must have a certain amount of flexibility to absorb the loads going through it. What's more, all teams, Mercedes included, attempt to take advantage of any such flexibility. So the key question is whether Red Bull has pushed it too far. The primary means of enforcing these rules are the load tests specified in the regulations, and Red Bull team principal Christian Horner can quite justifiably point to the fact the RB16 has passed all such tests this season. But such tests are only a simulation of the loads cars undergo on track, so the suspicion is that Red Bull has found a way to create the flexibility only in conditions where the loads exceed what is tested for. The FIA is particularly interested in detecting a non-linear relationship between the load and the flexing. A linear relationship, whereby the flexing increases proportionally to the load, would indicate the normal flexibility you would expect. But if it's non-linear, that indicates a way has been found to ensure the bodywork stands up to the load tests, but then starts to give under greater loads. To try and curb any team bending the rules, pun very much intended, with a design that passes the load tests but flexes excessively on track, the FIA has informed teams it will be doing three things. Firstly, the load tests are being made more stringent, with increased loads for those testing the vertical and horizontal load. These will only allow the rear wing to rotate by 1 degree. Secondly, the FIA has warned it will be analysing video evidence to spot anomalous behaviour, although exactly how it will measure any breaches based on this is unclear. However, the FIA is resolved to reach a point of zero tolerance on any unusual deflection that it detects. Thirdly, the FIA has underlined that it reserves the right to run any of the tests to 1.5 times the stipulated loads to measure for any non-linear behaviour. The new tests will not be in use for the Monaco and Azerbaijan Grand Prix, but will take effect thereafter. But there will initially be a permitted tolerance while teams adapt to the modified tests. It's unclear what impact these changes will have on Red Bull and any other teams whose rear wing designs might fail the tests, but while it won't turn a race-winning car into an also-ran, if Red Bull does have to change its specification, it will be a blow. After all, why put a design on the car if it doesn't improve it? Formula 1's rules prevent flexible bodywork, with Article 3.8 of the technical regulations covering what is called aerodynamic influence, stating that any bodywork, except for specific exemptions such as the DRS, must be rigidly secured to the entirely sprung part of the car. Rigidly secured means not having any degree of freedom. There are also a suite of 8 load tests laid out in Article 3.9 of the F1 technical regulations. The 9th rule within this article establishes the FIA's ongoing right to introduce additional tests, which is what has allowed it to take this action. The load tests are applied to multiple areas of the car, including the front and rear wing and floor. The most extreme of them involves a force of 4,000 newtons, equivalent to just over 400 kilos. For the current concerns, the key tests are those applied to the rear wing. 4 of the rules in Article 3.9 are relevant to that and are designed to test for flexibility both of the rear wing itself under horizontal and vertical forces and the structure that supports it. The 2 additional tests are targeting the rotation of the rear wing, the first of which applies twin horizontal loads of 750 newtons and allows only 1 degree of rotation. The second applies a 1000 newton vertical force and also allows no more than 1 degree of rotation. Policing flexible bodywork is a long-standing problem for the FIA. While flexible bodywork has been illegal for a long time, checks were once a very inexact science. The race's technical expert Gary Anderson recalls the late Charlie Whiting paying the Jordan team a visit at Monaco in 1991 because rival teams suspected its floor may be flexing a little more than it should. Whiting's test was simple. He stood on the floor to see how much it gave and considered the floor legal. Things eventually became a little more scientific and formal tests were introduced in May 1999 in response to Ferrari designing and running a clever mounting for the rear wing mainplane that deformed under load to reduce drag. These weren't officially incorporated into the written technical regulations until 2003 and, over time, the number of tests has grown to the current rules that run to over 900 words. While the principle of bodywork not being able to flex is simple enough, there does have to be a certain amount of movement. But every team, not just Red Bull, exploits grey areas and attempts to gain an advantage by doing this. It's a question of how good you are at it. Over the years, teams have been increasingly innovative, in particular Red Bull, and unless they explicitly fail load tests, it can be very difficult to prove. This is why, while flexi-wing controversies have regularly flared up over the past decade, sporting penalties are rare. Red Bull drivers Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo were excluded from qualifying for the 2014 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for running illegally flexing front wings. At the time, Red Bull claimed to be hard done by and argued rivals were also interpreting the rules in the same way. Beyond that, teams have occasionally been asked to stop running parts if they have been deemed to be deforming unusually, although this is rare. There will always be an advantage to be gained from flexible bodywork, particularly the rear wing. This isn't something that's going to go away. The endless push and pull of the teams and the rule makers is a fascinating sideshow, with competitors trying to gain every advantage they can within their interpretation of what is legal, and the FIA trying to find ways to police this. Let us know in the comments what impact you think these changes will have on Red Bull's performance, and in fact the performance of any other team. And if you enjoyed this video, even if you don't like the idea of flexi-wings, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the race.